nervous every year trying to bring in all these transfers? Is that something that would you prefer to bring in more freshmen? What do you think?
Actually, the scary thing is I'm very comfortable. Now, do I want to bring in 7 guys every year from the transfer portal? Absolutely not. But I think it's an exciting time. I've told people that, you're going to lose some really good players to the transfer portal, but it's important to go out and get some people that want to play at NC State and be able, that you can pick up and fill some needs that we may have.
We recruit guys every year. Is that something that is tough, or I feel like you've gotten better with it every year?
No, I don't know that you ever get better because sometimes you don't understand, or you might not understand why some individual or some player may leave. I just think that's a part of where we're at right now. You have to, as soon as you finish playing, as soon as I finished the Creighton game, I had to re-recruit the guys who wanted to be here and then figure out who wasn't going to be in our program and then go out and get some transfers.
Is that something that combined all these guys together that they have started off different? A lot of the guys started different places.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. We try to get them, to have some type of relationship off the court, because I think that's important. If you can get them to play off the court, then certainly they'll help us win games.
We've asked a little bit about the chemistry of this team and how you're trying to build that. Have there been any things over the last few weeks since we've seen you that you guys are trying to do outside of the Wilmington trip as well?
Yeah, we try to hang out as much, and we've spent more time this year on tailgates and hanging out at the football games and making it mandatory that we do some of those things. Every football game we've practiced at the PNC that was home, so we can hang out a little bit. Wilmington trip was great for us. We got 2 days to go down there and kind of mingle in, and we played, ask them about this one day, Corey, we played Jeopardy, and there were 5 different categories and all that other stuff. The disadvantage to this team compared to last year is we had 10 practices because of, going on the foreign trip, and then we also played 2 games. We don't have that now, and so I've decided a little bit more to play a little bit more 5-on-5 in practice opposed to more drills, so they get used to chemistry and playing together.
Who did well in the Jeopardy?
We split them up in teams. Like KJ actually did really well because he knew all the answers about me, and there was one category. Ben Middlebrook's team lost. They lost really bad, so I can tell you that.
Has it been any easier this year with the depth that you have to play that 5-on-5?
It's been easy, but this time of year you always have to be a little bit careful because you've got some tiny injuries or making sure guys are taking care of their body and all that other stuff. But we found ways to be able to be competitive.
Is there any update at this point on Cam Woods? Have you heard anything back from the NCAA on that?
No, we're still waiting from Cam Woods. We have filed the waiver, but we haven't heard anything back yet.
Kevin, claimed the transition from high school senior to college freshman can be difficult.
Yeah, I think I think your question is so great. The transition these days are a little bit harder, and I'll say that because you think about this: if you were Dennis Parker 3 years ago, you would be coming in with 4 other freshmen. How about being the only freshman on the team, coming in with a bunch of guys who are already 20, 21 years old? That being said, there's moments when he looks like a freshman, or more often, he looks like he belongs. Energetic, can run the floor, can play multiple positions, could be a really good defender. It's going to take a little time, but I do think he's going to be a really good basketball player for us.
You mentioned he play multiple positions. With that kind of size and length, how do you envision you use him?
Yeah, I think he's more natural as a small forward, but when we go 4 guards and I want a bigger guard to play at that power forward position, I think he's one of the guys that we can consider. Great young man, great family that he came from a winning program where they won 3 state championships, and Ty White, those guys did a good job with him, but I think he's going to be good for us. We got to be a little bit patient for him. He's the only guy on our program that I'll let him get away with making 3 mistakes in a row because he's a freshman. The other guys should know better.
And then relative to where you guys are geographically, kind of feels like you guys are always under the radar. I can't think of any guys. Is that something you all thrive on, or is that something you all even talk about?
Yeah, we don't talk about it. You know, we're very secure in who we are, and you know, we never ever try to compare ourselves to any program in our league. We just, you know, we're different. Most time we're not even battling for the same kids. We go after guys who we feel like they're going to be successful at NC State and play the way we play. And honestly, you know, I don't even look at, you know, what the other teams have until we get close to playing those guys.
You said that, you know, you don't want to beat 70 guys every year, but sometimes you have to. I feel like some of those guys maybe going under the radar just as far as what you were able to bring in. What have you seen from those guys early on and how they'll be able to fit with your friend?
Yeah, I like our guys. So you guys are, you're like most fans and most people who report and even coaches. You're going to love guys who can score. So everybody's going to immediately love DJ Horn. He will remind you of Taquavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner because of his ability to score. Ben's had some good moments for us. He's played well. You know, I knew he was a good player when we played against him at Clemson last year, but you know, he's a guy that, you know, can certainly rebound the basketball. He will have a bigger role than he had when he was at Clemson. Obviously, he played behind a really good basketball player, PJ Hall. You look at Jaden Taylor from Butler, who played in the Big East, averaged 13 points a game. He could be really good. MJ Rice, we talked about. Michael O'Connor is going to, you know, eventually. He's going to eventually probably end up coaching the team because he graduated from Stanford in 3 years. So he's the smartest guy in the locker room. But he's a little different than I've ever had because, you know, he's the point guard. We haven't had a traditional point guard in a long time. Most of my guards have been combo guards that can switch over. He's more of on a real point guard. But I love our group. I think our group's good. Mohamed Diarra is going to be good. But we got a bunch of people that add a lot of value to our team.
I was talking to someone with DJ Burns about matching up against Baycott and UNC. His face kind of lit up. He described it as a fun challenge. What goes into, on the coaching side, scouting a unique player like Baycott?
Well, Baycott's good, and DJ Burns is good. I mean, you know, I tell you what, when you watch those guys play 2 games last year, and man, and for a moment when you go back and watch the film, you just admire what those 2 guys bring to each program and how tough they are to guard. But you know, when you talk about DJ, you know, he's a lefty, he's different, he's hard to guard. He's a great passer. We talk about Baycott, you know, he's physical, he's a deep poster. He can post you really deep, he can score. Tremendous offensive rebounder, tremendous rebounder overall. And so I think it's always, those 2 is a really fun match for me to watch.
And with the college game moving away from that sort of traditional center, how unique is that matchup just to see?
I'm going to cry because, you know, I'm one of the guys who really hasn't had a traditional back-to-the-basket guy. And for the first time in a couple years, I've got one in DJ Burns. And so now, when he decides to graduate, I got to go out and find somebody. It's only going to be 2 in the country, so I got to get one of those 2. I got to win a couple of recruiting battles and get me more of a traditional post guy. But, you know, it's a lost art to be able to score with your back to the basket.
Okay. From what you've seen in practice, what would you say is an area of strength of this team? And maybe something that you worked on before the first game?
I would say the strength of the team is that we could be really good with our depth and also our ability to defend. You know, I think I got a bunch of guys who can defend multiple positions. We can get out in transition. We got a lot of guys who can play a lot of different roles and wear a lot of different hats. I think the biggest thing is just developing chemistry and trust and being able to make the right play and be able to make the right decisions and, you know, understanding who your teammates are.
When you're looking at this front court, it feels like there's somebody, each guy brings something to the table, whether it's Burns back to the basket, DR really able to run up and down the floor. Just how does that help y'all in terms of depth and versatility, being able, each guy brings their own flavor to the court?
Well, it helps us play different. You know, we had, you look at last year, we ended up with Greg Gann, who played a tremendous role. Jack Clark played a really good role for us, but they were both more face-up guys and all that. We have the ability to play really big if we want to, with 2 physical guys, you know, in the front court. A little bit different than where the game's going, but I like the versatility that both Ben and both Mo brings to our team.
Kevin, how have you seen the process of recruiting change since the NIL era has kind of come upon us?
Yeah, I think what's happened, Jamie, is a couple different things. Is everything changed at the same time, and so NIL changed the game, and then all of a sudden you had automatic transfer, one-time transfer right away. I think most coaches would have been able to deal with it a little bit if you had one, and then the following year you had the other, but it kind of happened right away. So it's completely different. NIL, which as a head coach, I believe in it for our players, but that's a huge decision making now for a lot of these young men. And then when you're looking, I love transfers, but they're looking for an opportunity, and I think the biggest thing is you got to have an opportunity for them, and I think all of that has to match in with the NIL.
And you say transfers, how have you seen kind of the process that's so quick? How do you establish a relationship? How do you establish, I want this person because we fit our thing, and then do all the background stuff and then recruiting? How does that process kind of go?
Yeah, I think you got to. What we do is we try to talk to as many more people than we did before. It's funny because if you do the research on transfers, they typically don't take a 48-hour visit. Usually it's 24 hours or sometimes it's 18 or some of those stuff. So I think what's important now is we try to establish a relationship with more people around them. Believe it or not, I'm one of the coaches that will call a guy who's leaving that university and talk to the coaches and talk to people around. Even though they may not say anything favorable, I need to know what's been said about them, because the last thing you want to do is bring guys into it that's not good for your locker room. So it's completely changed, Jamie. I feel bad for the high school kids because I made a living of having 12 to 13 high school guys sign Division I scholarships all the time. I do think that's going to change. I think once the COVID years go away, I think if they don't pass two-time transfer, then I think it slows down a little bit. It'll never go back to where you're going to have a bunch of schools with 4 or 5 different freshmen, but it will be more opportunities for freshmen coming back up.
Is it just really hurting high school sports in terms of, because I talk to kids here in Charlotte, and you just can see kind of the not the defeat in them, but you just see this change of their attitude toward where they're going to go and how hard they might work. Does it make sense?
No, I don't think it hurts as much. I think where it comes in play, I think it helps the mid majors a lot.
That's right.
Because some of those guys who would, if I was taking a kid who I felt like wasn't ready and he would be ready as a junior, and we would hope to develop him, that guy now gets to go to somewhere mid-major where he probably should have went from the start and be able to play right away. So I think it helps them. I don't think it completely hurts them. I think what happens is so many guys define how good they are by playing at Power 5 instead of going to places where they can play right away.
Going back to the discussion about the big men, sorry, I'm just very interested. But you've talked about this a bit in the past. With a player like Burns or Baycott that's such a unique threat physically, what are some of the challenges in officiating a player like that in a fair way?
Oh man, I think DJ Burns, and I'm joking when I say this a little bit, but I'm not. I got Brian Kersey's here, who is the coordinator of officials, who's a really tremendous guy, great official. The one thing that I tell people is I think that DJ Burns gets fouled more than anybody. And here's why. He catches the ball off the block, and most time he catches it near the three-point line. Well, at that point, you can't put your elbow on him. He's an offensive player. He's a guard until he gets into a scoring area. I feel bad for those guys sometimes because I think they just get hammered a lot, and they don't get the calls that they deserve because of that. Now, not because the officials are cheating them, or it's just naturally when you're a bigger guy, you don't get, like, we go watch some guys when they're really young, and it's the big guy who never gets the calls.
You're getting pushed, then maybe not going to fall over, but you're still getting pushed.
On the flip side of that, I talked to DJ about how do you work on not fouling?
Well,
he said you got a lot of ways to work on.
Yeah, well, he's got to, like, I don't need and a lot of DJ's fouls are from our guards. And so one of the ways you work on it is you got to guard the basketball, and we got to protect him, because most of his fouls, most of the post guys' fouls don't come from guarding their own man. It comes from a guard driving in and you're coming over trying to help. And so one of the things that we can do to help as a team, we've got to do a good job keeping the ball in front where he's not in that situation. Now, when we get the ball screen coverage and he reaches and gets his dumb foul, then that's something we can talk about. But a lot of it is not completely on him, even though he's fouling, but some of it has to go to our guards also.
Is that something you think, and particularly the frustration foul or the reach foul, where you're like, are those the ones you think he can, as he matures, can cut back on?
Yeah, I think every post guy thinks that they can pick a guard. Like, I think that's a dream of a post guy is I'm going to pick this guy. And what I tell him in practice all the time, you may pick him, but that referee is going to call a foul because he thinks you fouled him. And there's no way that you're going to pick a really good guard. So, what they have to do is play without their hands and show the referees their hands and all that other stuff.
Kevin, how valuable is Casey's leadership and maturity in the locker room?
He's been great. He's gotten better. Miles, when I first got him, barely talked a lot, was looking for a new opportunity. He was coming from a tremendous program in Virginia, but we completely played a different way. And I think as he has grown on the court, it's really helped him become a leader off the court.
And then for him too, obviously you run a lot of high pick and roll with some ball dominant guards. He doesn't need to have the ball in his hands to be a productive player. How important is that for the team's success this year?
Well, the one thing that we've been getting him to do, if you remember last year, shooting 41%, he ran the floor really hard. And guys would just pitch it ahead and he would get a corner three and all that other stuff. The thing I need him to do is to continue to move without the basketball. Some of the best shooters in the world are guys who play off of guys and move without the basketball, and I have to get him to continue to do that.
When you look at your schedule, I talked to some other coaches today. We talked about 20 games in the ACC, how you balance that. Obviously, what you do out of conference makes a big difference in the net, not only for you but for the entire league. How do you balance what you're trying to accomplish in the non-conference with setting yourself up for postseason success?
Yeah, it's hard. Scheduling today is one of the hardest things you can do because you have no idea who's really on someone's roster. So if you schedule a game early that you think is going to be a quad 1 or quad 2 win, and they have 3 dudes decide after summer school they're graduates and they're going to transfer, it's a completely different team. So there's that quad 1 you thought you were going to get. Vice versa, maybe it's a team that you want to, play to get you some confidence early and all that other stuff. They could have some guys late that changes. So it's no perfect science to scheduling. I remember at one point we would try to get scheduling done as quick as we could. Now you almost got to take an approach. You got to keep 1 or 2 games open just to see if you need to strengthen or take away a little bit.
Along those lines, when you go to 18 teams in the league, I heard there's been some talk about playing everybody once and somebody twice, so playing 18 conference games. And obviously might create some problems in the triangle. I'm sure they're going to make Duke and Carolina play twice. The thought of not playing Carolina twice at NC State seems foreign.
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm a fan. I actually want to go different. I actually want to. Doesn't matter who you give me to play. I actually would think I would love to see us go back to 18 games. And here's why. I would love to have those 2 opportunities to go play against the SEC or the Big Ten or Big East or whoever we need to, just to figure out if we need that to strengthen our schedule.
So you'd be okay with the 17+1 model that they're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anybody? Obviously a lot of buzz about the transfers, about DJ in the second year. But is there anybody that's kind of flying under the radar that you think is really going to break out this year?
No, I mean it's so hard to tell. I mean, I knew I was getting a special player in Jarkel Joyner because I knew our system would make an uptick in how much he can score the basketball. But until you get out there and play, you just don't know. I like our guys. I think each one of those transfers have had their moments. But at the end of the day, you just don't know until we get to playing real games.
Can you reemphasize what the process was like to get MJ Rice here to Raleigh, him being from Henderson?
I recruited him for a long time. And, when he decided to go to Kansas, I was happy. He was a McDonald's All-American. And it just didn't work out there. And so when he hit the portal, we had some conversations. Him and his dad came up and met with me, and we talked about the opportunity here at NC State because when we had lost, we lost 2 really good players, and 3 guys who transferred, obviously Greg and Jack and Deshaun, and it was an opportunity to play here, and I think he looked at that opportunity and was excited about the ability to come back and play in North Carolina and have some people watch him play.
When you look at a team like Duke, bringing back 4 starters, obviously plus their recruiting class, how much of an advantage is it to have that continuity, particularly in today's college basketball, where almost every team is bringing in transfers and newcomers?
Yeah, John's got a unicorn situation in the Power 5. I know of some mid-major schools that have a lot of guys returning, but he's got a good situation because I don't know if that happens where you get 4 returning starters in Power 5. There ain't many teams that can say that, and he's got a good situation because when you got 4, it makes it a little easier to teach the new guys. I've got 2, and so we're trying, but 4 makes it a lot easier, and 4 really good players too.
Is that, you don't even think about having that many guys come back.
I don't know. Listen, it's going to go from year to year. Like, you have no idea. Like, I could tell you what I want. I can tell you what I need. I can tell you what I wish for. But at the end of the day, you don't know how many guys you're going to have to replace on your roster every single year.
And so do you keep a recruiting list then of guys you maybe tried to recruit, but they went to Kansas or they went somewhere else, and you sort of have like a transfer list kind of at the ready? Or
I don't. I don't even think you have to have that. Like, when they get into that portal, we get a list of who's in the portal. I wait. I don't touch anybody. I don't talk to anybody. I kind of wait and see who's in the portal and kind of what do we need and who could help our program and if they're a good fit. But once we don't get them, we don't get them.
Does it change the way, if you don't get a guy, you still maybe stay in touch with him or stay in touch with his family or keep an eye on him because hey, there's going to be bounce backs all the time?
Absolutely not.
No?
No. We just, number one, I wouldn't want to because they're going to go and play for some other coach. And number 2, it's probably about as illegal as it can get.
I think your experience with Hargrave makes you probably the most willing to accept the changes of the additional transfer portal culture compared to the other teams in the ACC.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It's not that I'm the only one that's okay with it. I accept it. It's not different for me. 7, 8 years ago, or 9, 10, I can't remember. JC would know more than me. I had to do that, and there was 13 of them. So now that I love it, I'm not gonna make sure I tell you that, but I'm okay with it, and I can deal with it.
I just remember you taking a top 50 kid and sitting him on the bench.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Dominic Ferguson.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing. Maybe you've been asked, but do you feel you have a bona fide 30-minute-a-night floor general at point guard at this point? Or still talking to committees?
I think committee. And one of the committee, and this is going to sound funny to you, one of my committees at point guard is going to be DJ Burns. Somebody else is going to dribble the ball up, and we're going to throw it to him, and he's going to post way beyond the three-point line, and he's going to find somebody cutting. That's what it is. So I don't think, I'm not going into the season, JC, thinking that anybody is going to play 35 minutes a game. I just don't know.
I lowered it to 30 to give you a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for lowering it. Yeah.
In case somebody gets into foul trouble.
Yeah, thank you for. I'm gonna say 35. You say 30, but it's just a fun team, and I just think we got a lot of pieces that number one want to play and is capable of helping our team.
So Casey says he's tired of practice already. I'm guessing it's a little spicy when you got DJ and Jaden Taylor.
Well, this is what
in
happens.
A trio.
Well, this is what's happened. This is what happens to guys when you've been in college for 5 years. You get tired.
He doesn't know it was on Duke or UNC or Virginia.
Yeah,
and
look, it's different for him too because he practiced for a different program before, then another program before. I'm gonna tell my assistant coaches when I get back that Casey told you he's tired of practice. It's the time of year when guys do want outside competition. Summers are long. you're fighting against each other all the time. You're playing hard against each other. It is a time where you would love to play in different color jerseys.
Does it feel spicy though when you have TJ and Jaden or DR and Middlebrooks and DJ?
Does it feel what?
Spicy.
Spicy. What do you mean when you say
Fun,
spicy?
you see some fun matchups. You see some
Oh yeah,
fun
yeah,
things.
yeah. I'm glad you.
That they get.
I'm glad you clarified spicy. I think that we could go a lot of different ways.
You have the load managed case?
But yes, it feels spicy.
Competitive.
Competitive, that's right.
Very competitive.
That's right.
How have you seen that manifest?
I think it's really good. And I go into every practice switching up who guards who and who plays with who, trying to figure out who's going to be good together, who's good together when they're up, and who's good together when they're down.
I'm sure you didn't have your whole team, and maybe you've been asked this already, but what did you kind of take away from your quote-unquote secret scrimmage?
It's good. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better in scrimmages because you get a chance to see, and I completely played everybody, and obviously MJ wasn't there, and DJ wasn't there, but you get an opportunity just to see guys at different settings.
How much does that competitive spice going to help when the season does get underway? These guys are already bringing that competitive edge to the court. Used to bringing that every single day.
Them, like if you came to a practice, you will see it. We practice extremely hard, and at some point when we play against the other team, I say, hey, I want you to play as aggressive without fouling with that other team as you do with your own teammates. And you know, I'm one of the coaches to try to make practice a little tougher than the game, and you know, hopefully when the game is a little bit easier for you, opposed to obviously just going through practice trying to make it through. So we have very competitive practices.
What is it like when you bring in a transfer? Sometimes they're kind of ready-made. Casey wasn't ready-made. You maybe physically he was ready-made, but what did you have to do to kind of mentally change his mojo?
Well, Casey was different because when you want to talk about a completely different system, and so most guys are not going from, Tony's very efficient program that he runs, and they move a blocker and score, and they're really good, and just, those type of things, to an up-pace pressing in your face the entire time. So he was completely different. I'm Jeff Capel right now. Hey, if you want to ask me any questions about Pittsburgh right now, hey, was Jeff right there?
He's looking for a point guard too.
Jeff. Hey Jeff, is there anything they want me to add?
Point guard this year.
Pittsburgh did a great job. Hey Jeff, I got the one question for you. Yes, we did a great job. We'd love to get back to the tournament.
How will Pittsburgh do against NC State?
Oh man, it's going to be a great competitive game. It's going to be 100 to 100. We'll see who wins. I have no idea.
How popular are you in Fayetteville?
I'm not as popular as Jeff in Fayetteville.
No, you're Jeff Capel right
This
now.
is really good.
You're Jeff Capel. So
I'm Jeff Capel? Oh, shit, they love me down there. Yeah. Any more Pittsburgh questions before I go, guys?
No, but I do have an NC State question.
Okay. Well, hold on.
Thanks, Coach Keatts Capel.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, two quick questions for you. What was your favorite moment from last season?
I think my favorite moment was selection Sunday. Seeing those guys' names get called. I knew it would be a big deal, but when I heard it, saw it, and the emotion of them, I think it really hit home. Yeah. That was my favorite moment.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite answer to that question too.
Thank you.
And with the conference changing next season, what are you looking forward to this last season as the ACC as it is? Any?
No, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the respect that our conference should get. I think we got a really good, tough conference. We had 5 guys get in. I thought this conference was deserving of 9. and hopefully in November and December we go out and show everybody how good our conference is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.